Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back, everybody. Think about this for a second. Your job, your work, how much time you spend at work. It's a major part of your life. Now, what if it's not the way you want it to be? What if it's not fulfilling? What if it's not comfortable? What if you're a team leader or a business owner and wondering if your employees are really happy where they're working? Because if they're not producing the way that you want and need them to. We're going to look at the workplace today. What can be done to improve? What makes a great workplace? And she works with people on this and much more all the time. Transformational coaching. She's an amazing speaker. I've gotten so much insight from her, even in the last couple of weeks in talking with Kristina Smith. And she's back with us. How you doing today?
I am doing great, Steve. How about you?
Doing very well, very well.
Good, good, good.
I like to say TGIF,
Yes.
when it's a Friday. But I shouldn't be saying that because I'm done with work. I don't have to deal with it anymore. Yes, you look forward to the weekend and some of, free time, your time, but it shouldn't be a product of get me the heck out of here.
Hey, Steve, you're absolutely right. I want everyone to feel the way I feel. I get up in the morning and I can't wait to start to get to work. I literally, yes, I run my own business, but I did that even when I worked in other organizations because I figured out some things. And one of the things I figured out, so let me take a step back. One time I was at a job and I took the job because my kids were little and I wanted to be close to home, but I really was not good at the job. But my parents had convinced me, look, you can do anything. You can be anybody you want to be. You can do anything you want to do. So I figured, even though I was underqualified for the job, I was going to take it and I was going to learn how to be good at this job. Well,
Hmm.
that did not happen. This was
Hmm.
not one of my skill sets. My team didn't like me because I couldn't produce and I was holding up their work. I was unhappy. I was feeling I'm not using my God-given talents, if you will. And and I'm like being paid. And I would come home every day and I'd be in pain and I'd be thinking, I'm stuck. I'm stuck. I'm stuck. I'm stuck. And finally, after weeks,
Hmm.
maybe even months of this, I heard I had this knowing. I don't know whether it was a voice. I don't think it was a voice, but I just had this knowing. Something came to me and said, "Hey, you're you're creating your destiny. You are stuck because that's what you're thinking." And I thought, "Wow, I need to shift out of this mindset. I'm going to figure out what I'm good at and I'm going to figure out my next step, but I need an interim gap. I need in between this gap, I need something I can focus on, something I can say. I came up with this mantra of I'm moving in the direction of my greatest dreams.
Hmm.
Even though I didn't know what that was yet, I felt joy. I felt excited. I felt like this is going to be an adventure. I'm moving in the direction of my greatest dreams. And then what I did was I took a couple of days to think, what do you love doing? And I said, I love learning information and I love sharing it with other people. And I said, okay, who does that? I knew I didn't want to be an elementary school teacher or a high school teacher or even a professor at a university. I said, that's out. But I really wanted to work in a corporation. And so I thought people in training and development do that. So I
Hmm.
decided, okay, I want to be a trainer. But then my next thought was, I can't afford to stop and go back to school right now. I need to work and I don't know how to do that. I don't know anyone who does that. Then I said, you know what? Steve, guess what I said? That's not my job. It's not my job to figure out the how. I just needed to know the final destination. And so I let it go. I said, this is what I want, and this is what's going to happen. I'm not kidding. Within 2 weeks, after being definitive about what my end result was, within 2 weeks,
Wow.
I got an offer to come to a company that did not have a training department, but I had done some work in human resources. I ended up there, and within 2 months, they decided, we need a training department. I thought, oh, really?
Ah.
So literally, I applied with someone else within the organization, got that job, and then Steve. They paid for me to go all over the country to learn training and development.
Wow. You manifested it.
I did. You know, that's my thing. I
Wow.
did that. I did
Wow.
that. And I did that long before I came across this system that I use in my work, both with businesses and with individuals around how to create a life you really love living. That was before I ran into the system that's done by the Brave Thinking Institute. I just did it and I was so happy, literally happy.
Wow. Thanks for sharing that. It's just more proof that if you manifest and do it effectively and not worry about the details, just the end result, that it can take place. Now, mindset. You were in that job before
Hmm.
the one that the perfect one appeared.
Right.
Can you, with the right mindset, make it work? So you're in that situation. It wasn't really, what you wanted. You needed it for the moment. Could anybody with the right mindset make it work for the time being? Instead of feeling like a complete, you know, square peg, round hole kind of situation where if you have the right mindset, I'll make this work. It's not perfect. Or is it a situation where this is not my purpose? This is not where I should be. It's just not going to work. What are your thoughts on
Yeah,
that?
I think that's a great question, Steve. I think it's a yes and it's a both. In the moment, you can say, I'm so happy that this is temporary. See, there's a
Hmm.
huge thing that I think a lot of people don't realize, and I call it staying above the line. And with all of my clients, I don't care whether they're business clients or individuals, I ask people to take out an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper and in the middle draw a horizontal line. And above the line, you want to put every positive word you can think of: joy, happiness, compassion, love, friendship. And then below the line, you want to put every negative word: jealousy, anger, deceit, fear, all those words. And I tell people you have one job: stay above the line.
Hmm.
Until we get through all the things we're going to go through to really help you bridge the gap between where you are and where you want to be, stay above the line. We've
Hmm.
talked before about everything is energy. Einstein, lots of other people have said everything is energy. And if you get on the frequency of what you want, you can't help but get it. What's the problem? That's an easy statement to make, but most of us are creatures of habit. We've
Yep.
been thinking the same way for 20 years, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years. And now, and so much of it, Steve, so much of it is done unconsciously. The way we think, the way we behave, the way we act, the way we treat other people. It's so embedded in us. So it's the idea of at least starting with a framework of, I want to stay above the line. And then what are the tools and tips and techniques that help people stay above the line? That's so important. But I'm telling you, even with just that, people can make some pretty big changes.
Wow. Not to be negative here, but
Okay.
situations in workplaces, one comes to mind when we first started talking. I just have pictures in my mind of of different situations, workplaces that were great, and some that were not so great.
Hmm.
I have a friend who went back to work after a family situation, after a couple of years, back to what they were doing. Was in the medical field, and she got trained. This is a big, big, big company, by the way, in the New York area. So I just want to preface it. It's not
Yeah.
like it's a little
Hmm.
small rinky-dinky company.
Right.
They trained her, and even during the training, they said, "If you have any questions, don't ask us any questions."
Mm.
Red flag number one. Then
Mhm.
they said a lot of people that start with us, many times they come here even in the first even the first interview or the first interaction, and they go to lunch, they never come back. Red
Mhm.
flag number two.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
she starts the job, and it is just it's all numbers driven. You have to produce. There were times where she was being called out on it, and they were taking her results and giving them to somebody else
Mhm.
by error.
Mhm.
It was just what I'm getting at here is there was no compassion in the company. It was
Right.
all just robotic, show up, do your thing. Um, just such a she would tell me these situations, read emails that they would send. I'm like, "Ugh, how do they that this is real?" And it was
Right.
real. She wound up quitting. She couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah.
It was she's so conscientious and cares so much that it just didn't work for her. But it's the culture a lot of these companies have that how do they not see it?
Yeah. 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 It's really interesting because one of the things that I've learned about human nature, there are some people, if you tell them you can't do something, they will say, okay, and they'll walk away with, I can't do it.
Mm,
There are other people, if you say the same thing to them, something rises up and they feel like, I'm going to show you. Like if you say you can't build a house in, a month,
hmm
some people say, okay, I'm walking away from it. But other people will say, I'm going to show you. So there's this dynamic within all of us. Some people feel challenged by what you were just talking about. Some people will take that as I'm going to challenge this. I'm going to challenge me and this situation and this company. I'm going to challenge to do what you say can't be done.
Yep.
And you got to be the right person to be in that place. But one of the things that you made me think of, Steve, is the idea that I have trained myself almost no matter what happens. If I stub my toe really, really hard, my first thought is, wow, that's great. Now, I might not be able to, if you say to me, why is that great? I might not have an answer for you. But what it does, Steve, is it keeps me from going down the going below the line. It keeps me from cursing and saying, why did somebody push that table out that should be put, it keeps me from, so automatically, no matter what happened, I've been in a car accident before and said, wow, that's great. And laughed because I want to stay at a certain level. When we vibrate, I'm telling you, Maya Angelou said the purpose of life is to be in a state of flow. You can get in a state of flow when you stay above the line because you're
Mm.
vibrating at such a place. I am not joking. I am becoming a manifestation maven. I can think things and they happen because I stay above the line. I would say 95% of the day I'm above the line. Like I can walk by and hear the news and everything that's going wrong and everybody's doing this, that, and the other. It doesn't phase me. It doesn't phase me. It
I
does.
got you. I'm working on it. I hear you. Maybe I need to work with you. Um, I almost feel that I said my situation about laughing at things that hurt because you're
Hmm.
you're saying what I've said to people recently and had medical situation. It's all good now. Wasn't even that major.
Hmm.
Needed stitches, needed a lot of them. Hate needles, hate all of it.
Hmm. Hmm.
If I had this conversation a year ago, maybe two, blood tests, I'd be freaking out. No, I haven't put the date off and everything. Now I laugh at it. I'm
Hmm.
not even kidding. I've been, on the table having surgery. They didn't even put me out, just numb you up. And I'm like, I'm laughing. I'm
Yeah.
not even kidding. This is
Yeah.
great. Having conversations about what was on TV and award show that just took place, with the doctors, and we're talking to the nurses and everything. Um, I flipped my mindset, and I
And
even said,
don't you feel freer?
"Oh my gosh!" When I look at the amount of energy I put into stressing out over
Hmm.
getting a routine blood test,
Yeah.
getting things like that done. First of all, I'm compromising myself, not taking care of myself.
Hmm.
It originally started with me thinking, well, I'm getting information that's going to better me in terms of my health.
Right.
That's where it started. But then it quickly rolled into just what you said, where it's
Hmm.
like, I almost look forward to the initial pain because I got an up
Hmm.
and to see how it's going to hurt and
Right.
how much I will endure,
Right.
and then it's over,
Yeah.
and that's it. It's
Yeah.
actually
Absolutely.
it's so liberating, so free. It's wonderful.
We started off the conversation talking about, people and their job situations. And I
Hmm.
see it from two perspectives because I've been an employee and I've been a leader in an organization.
Hmm.
And, what makes a good leader is a person who's self-aware. One time I was in a corporation and I was applying for next higher level up, and my current boss was going to help me prepare. He was in support of me moving to this higher position.
Mm.
And when he sat down with me, he said, so, what are your strengths? And I went through what I thought my strengths were. And he said, what are your weaknesses? And I was like, oh, no, I'm not going to tell them that. And he said, oh, no, no, no. As a leader, you're expected to know what your weaknesses are, but
Yep.
you're also expected to know what are you doing to improve in that area. So I think a lot of leaders are not self-aware. They're not aware of how they impact other people and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest opportunities I see for organizations um, comes out of a study that was done at Google. Google did a project. Oh my gosh, it starts with an A. It's not coming to me at the moment, but they did a project for a couple of years. And they took all these different teams at Google. They took teams that were mixed with millennials. They took teams that were mixed with just older folks. They took teams that were mixed racially, and they took teams that were everybody went to the same college or whatever. And what they found is it didn't matter what the mix of the team was. The number one thing about a great organization was psychological safety. If a team felt psychologically safe to bring to its leader, team leader, president of the company, whoever, there's a better way to do this, and that they weren't going to be, ostracized, they weren't going to be talked down to,
Yep.
they weren't going to be told, we've done that before and it didn't work. But
Mm.
when leaders listened and um, created other circumstances that made people feel psychologically safe, those are the teams that really um, gave their best. The team members gave everything they had, even their discretionary energy at work. Even, they were just really into their work when they felt psychologically safe. And I think that's really profound. I think a lot of leaders miss that.
I totally agree with you. And that now
Mhm.
you bring back a picture in my mind of a company that I worked with. And they had three leaders in the company, um, two of which I was there for. And the first one, nobody felt psychologically safe. Of
Mhm.
course, this manager would make it feel like, yeah, doors open. You come, anything you need to say, come on. Every time you went in there, in the corner pocket, those offices are always in the corner, and I never
Yeah,
figured out
yeah,
why.
yeah.
Don't even know. You didn't feel comfortable. You
Mhm.
you were on guard all the
Mhm.
time.
Mhm.
And even though he preached, togetherness and family, and he cares about you and all of it, no. And he even demonstrated that he was just all for himself.
Right.
Got to be honest.
Right.
That was,
Yeah.
not my. This is not just my opinion. This is everybody collectively saying it separately, and then you put the pieces together. He
Mhm.
leaves, somebody else comes in. They were a little bit better, but kind of the same.
Yeah.
Kind of the same. You were a little more comfortable talking with him, like he would hear your ideas, but you still guarded. Then they had somebody else go in there. I was gone by that time, but I knew this gentleman because he came from another position in corporate, and they put them,
Mhm.
in this corner pocket.
Mhm.
What a difference! He feels like he's on your level. You
Mhm.
have an idea. He might even say, "Hey, you know what? Let's go out and grab a beer and let's talk about it." He's interested, curious. You When he says his door is open, you feel that way. It
Mhm.
is just the vibration is completely different. Like you look forward to talking with him and
Exactly.
bouncing ideas around.
Exactly. And organizations like that not only survive but thrive even in difficult times. And
Yes.
right in through here, organizations need to be pulling out every tool they can to have their organizations be productive. And being productive is not just about how much money can I throw at you.
Mm,
It's
yeah.
do you feel valued? Do you feel safe? Do you feel like your contribution matters? I did some work a while ago with leaders at NASA, and part of their comment was, we have lost our culture. We once upon a time had a culture
Mm,
where when John F. Kennedy Jr. 100 years ago walked through Cape Canaveral and stopped and spoke to a gentleman who was sweeping the floor, and he asked the gentleman, "What is your job here?" And he said, "Mr. President, my job is to help get a man on the moon."
wow.
Everybody had entrenched in them how their role fit into the big picture.
Picture.
People have to know that. People have to know it is worth me sitting in traffic now that everybody's back to work, me sitting in traffic, me getting the kids off to daycare, me doing all this stuff.
Yeah.
I gotta feel like what I'm doing is value, creating value. I have to
There,
know
100 billion%. There needs to be clarity.
that.
Mission, call it a mission
Hmm.
statement, whatever. You
Yeah.
don't, it doesn't have to go deep. It just needs to be clear
Yes.
and exposed to all. And you as an individual, what the expectations are. I remember I was in between jobs, took a job with somebody, knew them and helped a lot in this job, uncovered a number of digital things that needed to
Hmm.
be
Hmm.
addressed.
Hmm.
But sometimes I was there not even knowing what I should be doing.
Right.
I already took care of this or took care of this. Now I'm at my desk. Like, what do I do? Like, it was
Right.
very uncomfortable,
Right.
very
Right.
uncomfortable
I
because it
know.
wasn't clearly defined as to what my role was. And then, I would always be out there looking for different things I could do to help out because
Hmm.
for the betterment of the organization. I think
Absolutely.
a lot of times there's not a lot of clarity. Needs to
Yeah.
be.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
I love that story about, getting a man on the moon. I mean,
Yeah.
that's
Isn't that amazing?
I didn't expect that. Uh, I expected to hear, well, keep the floors clean and safe, for all.
Mhm.
Mm,
No.
wow.
Everybody was told you are supporting this mission and this is our mission, and everything everyone does here is supporting that. That took
Yeah.
my breath away the first time I heard it. I was like, "Oh, I was like you. I was not expecting to hear that."
No, that felt good.
Yeah,
It
absolutely. And
really did.
another thing that I've seen really good leaders do, and I've seen a lot of good leaders do this. Nelson Mandela once said, "A good leader knows when to lead from the front and when to follow." And what that does is it demonstrates a nuanced blend of firmness and flexibility. I remember one time working in an organization where the chief financial officer had embezzled a lot of money. And they had hired a new uh, support person to that person, so second in command. That person didn't know the particular industry, and I'm not going to say the industry, but that person didn't know the industry that we were in, but
Mm,
knew finance. And so once this other gentleman was let go, he pulled his team together and he said, "Look, I don't know this business. You're going to have to help me." And those people rose up to support him. He was voted, and this is a really large organization. He was voted as best leader because he was not afraid to say, "I don't know this business. I know finance. I'll help as, along those lines, but you all are going to have to help me." And people just loved his vulnerability. People
mm,
loved being able to say, I'm going to support you. I'm going to show you what you need to know." So
wow.
that ability to be able to lead and to be able to follow at the right time is so important. People need to know that they're needed. And then let's look at it from the employee perspective. I do a lot of work with organizations around working with their teams so that they can, one, identify, we talked at the top of the hour, identify, is this a right fit for me? Am I in the right place? And if I am, but I have some little peripheral things, let's work those things out. But if
Sure.
I'm totally in the wrong place, let's create a plan. In the meantime, let's go back to what we were saying before. In the meantime, we can say, this is great. I can feel that I'm not in the right place. I can see I'm not in the right place. And at the same time, I'm going to use this as an impetus to go to what I really feel like I can do better or in a better environment or whatever. So
Mm,
we can know that we're in the not in the right place, still stay above the line and work towards moving someplace else.
love it.
I
I
want
tell you,
everybody to feel like I feel like get up in the morning. It's like I can't wait to get out the bed and go do
yeah,
what I do.
and do my thing and
Yes,
make a difference.
yes,
I am going to share the Nelson Mandela quote. A
yes,
leader, a true leader knows when to lead and when to follow.
yes.
And that person I mentioned out of those three managers, the
Mm-hmm.
last one,
Mm-hmm.
that's him.
Yeah.
He's the one
What's his
that,
name? Was his name Nelson?
no, nope, no, it wasn't. But I'll tell you, I see him doing both roles
Mm-hmm.
where he just,
Yes.
kicks back, goes into the background and just kind of floats along and supports while others. And I think we're out of time, but maybe for another time,
Yeah.
it's ego. It's
Yeah.
ego
Yes. Yes.
because the
Yes.
other two people just had these egos that were
Yeah.
driving everything. They,
Yeah.
not that they're bad people.
Right.
Ego got in the way.
Yeah.
Ego
Yeah.
got in the way.
Have a
Uh,
great weekend.
don't go anywhere until we tell everybody how we connect with you.
Oh, yeah,
And
absolutely.
it doesn't matter if you're looking to change careers, modify your current situation, or if you own a company or are a team leader, you got it covered. How do we find you?
Find me at 202 630 0382. Again, 202 630 0382, or at yourdreamsaccomplished.com.
Wonderful talking with you.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Steve.
good stuff. And we'll catch up next time. We'll be right
All
back.
right.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.